Spring TV brings to you Off the Bench with Thalu.
Women have been fighting for equal pay, and not just women, women in sports have been fighting for equal pay, equal opportunities, equal recognition. Can you imagine, for over a decade? Is this a conversation we're still having in 2022? I don't think so. Otherwise, on the other end, Kung Fu could get you into the movies. There is an open Shaolin temple for you to get yourself enrolled, to get to learn some self-discipline, some patience. That's a tact you definitely need to depend on. Also, the NBA season, hotter than ever. Game after game, we're questioning ourselves. Who's going to make it? Why? These are the underdogs? Oh my gosh, who's going to win the championship? Same thing is applying with the Africa Cup of Nations. We have so many teams that are surprising us. Questions, questions, questions. Good evening. My name is Thalu and this is Off the Bench. Once again, welcome to Off the Bench, and of course tonight's top stories: women in sports and the equality factor. Isn't this long overdue? Why are we still discussing this particular topic? Also, on our top stories tonight, we're discussing the budget allocated to coaches in Zambia. Is this the reason we are not getting the best coaches in the country, or the best coaches we could possibly need? That's a big question. Those are your top stories for tonight, so you need to make sure you stay tuned to Off the Bench. And of course, we have an interesting guest helping us discuss this particular conversation. Jumping into your local stories for today, I did mention it. Kung Fu can actually get you into the movies. Want to know how? I don't know. Let's ask Calvin from this report.
Following the establishment of a Chinese culture center known as the Shaolin Temple in Lusaka-Sungwerere Township, some Lusaka youths are now flocking to the temple to train Wushu or Kung Fu as it is widely known. The training consists of different martial arts skills as well as learning Chinese language, and it takes them from Monday to Sunday. S24 Sports talks to some of the youths who say they are aiming to represent Zambia at international competitions where the Chinese martial arts are recognized as a sport, while some have dreams of starring in Chinese Kung Fu movies.
I think this sport is important because it can help me to my fitness and self-discipline. Kung Fu is very important to any volunteer who can want to learn it, and sure we do that to avoid certain activities like drawing into alcohol, smoking, all sorts of bad things.
According to me, I was watching the movies, no wonder I joined.
Ndangeza kuti join Kung Fu nezitamba ku film kamukazi kenze kakali, so nankala motivated na join Kung Fu.
Ndangeza join Kung Fu nzitamba movie ya Bruce, so nfuna ngale at least nane ni ngale ko somewhere she nane join ko she for self defense.
For Frederick Kutelamu, one of the trainees at the Shaolin Temple, having once participated at a Kung Fu competition in Beijing, he wishes to see more Zambians joining the sport and represent the country at the international level.
I believe that the trainings of the Shaolin Temple help a lot of Zambians in terms of like acting, because you cannot become an action movie star if you don't do Kung Fu. It's very impossible. So I believe that if many Zambians accept to train Shaolin Kung Fu, they'll have a lot of chances to train in international movies and everything. I did like some performances in Beijing. So I believe that if everyone is able to practice Kung Fu, they will have the chance to go and practice perform in bigger stages.
Kung Fu is a demonstration sport that is fast growing across the world, and these Lusaka youths dream of becoming Shaolin masters in movies and also perform at international Kung Fu competitions.
I did hear them say self-discipline and patience. I'm getting there eventually. But also jumping into international stories, we have to talk about the NBA and this particular season with regards to COVID-19, vaccinations, injuries. A lot is happening, but who best to tell us and give us the up-to-date highlights of what's happening than, of course, our very own NBA.com writer and, of course, NBA analyst, Kaunda Chama. Kaunda, take it away.
Hi, Thalu. It's always great to catch up with you and talk about the NBA. I mean, it's exciting as we approach the halfway mark in the NBA season at the moment, in the 2021-2022 season. It's really exciting. First of all, let me talk about the All-Star, because the All-Star voting did start towards the end of last year, and at the moment it's looking very exciting. And even with an injury, it looks like the East are going to have the captain in Kevin Durant, who's still leading in votes in the East and in the West. Bit of a surprise to some and not a surprise to others. Stephen Curry is leading the voting, so it seems like it's going to be Team Stephen Curry against Team Kevin Durant in the All-Star this season. But what's going to be interesting is to see, would Stephen Curry pick LeBron James, or will Kevin Durant pick LeBron James? The most exciting piece, apart from the captains, is where is LeBron James, the face of the franchise, the face of the league, going to wind up? Now, when we look at standings, it's really, really exciting. And I mean, all fans know that in the NBA and in any other sporting code, surprises are always guaranteed, and this season is no exception. So when we look at what the standings look like at the moment, in the East, obviously, that's where the reigning champions are, who are the Milwaukee Bucks. Things are looking very, very interesting at the top there, because you've got the Chicago Bulls, a storied franchise, the franchise at which Michael Jeffrey Jordan won 6 championships. They're at the top at the moment. Nobody expected that young core to do this well this season. I mean, they just got put together in the offseason. I mean, you're talking about Lonzo Ball, you're talking about Zach LaVine, and you're talking about DeMar DeRozan. So bringing DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball to the Bulls seems to have helped elevate that franchise. Obviously, they've got other pieces around that, including Nikola Vucevic, which make them a force to be reckoned with. The Miami Heat, another storied franchise at which the likes of Dwayne Wade and LeBron James won championships, and Shaquille O'Neal as well. That's looking good. They're at number 2. And at number 3, you've got the team that's picked to be the favorites to win it all, who are the Brooklyn Nets, who are at number 3. And at number 4, it's the reigning champions, who are the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Milwaukee Bucks look like they've still got some work to do, but you know, they still haven't lost yet. And the Philadelphia 76ers take up the 5th spot, and that's where one of Africa's greatest players at the moment plays. That's Joel Embiid. He had a 50-point game last night. You can't stop that big man, and I'm sure as African fans, we're really proud of him. Now, when we move to the West, that's where it's very interesting, because the Phoenix Suns, who lost in the finals last season against the Milwaukee Bucks, look like they want to do it again. But this time they want to win. They want to make it to the finals, and they want to win because they lead. And the return of the Golden State Warriors seems to be imminent as well. They've got a young African player there in Kuminga who's doing very well. Steph Curry is performing at his usual peak level. And as well, Klay Thompson's return has helped bolster their performance. So the Golden State Warriors looking very, very scary in the West as well. And then the Memphis Grizzlies, home to one Ja Morant, former Rookie of the Year and doing fantastic things. And he's leading this squad. I mean, he's only 22 years old, but he's leading this squad to some incredible wins, and that's why they find themselves sitting at the 3rd spot in the Western Conference. And then you got the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz have always been a great franchise. The likes of Karl Malone and John Stockton have played there. And at the moment, if you look at the kind of players they have, in the likes of Rudy Gobert, in the likes of Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, that squad is also looking good. They've had their protocol issues and injury issues, but this is also a team that could be a contender if they continue at the current trajectory. And then you have one of my favorite teams as well, who are the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are sitting in 5th position in the West. And they look like they're also going to do some damage if given the chance, because they've got one of the best point guards in the league in one Luka Doncic. as well as one of the good big men in the league in one Kristaps Porzingis. So the East and the West are both looking great in the NBA at the moment, Thalu, and I think it's worth watching. It's definitely going to come down to the wire come the end of the season, but obviously we're heading to the middle of February where we have the All-Star break, and it's going to be exciting to see who the starters are going to be. Obviously, you can name Stephen Curry. I'm sure he's going to be a starter. Kevin Durant's going to be a starter. LeBron James is going to be a starter. Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be a starter. But it'll be great to see who are the other starters as well as who are the other reserves. And I think, at the moment, if there's a league you really, really need to watch, it's the NBA.
So who's it gonna be? Who's your pick? Interesting updates coming in from Kaunda Chama. Amazing updates. Thank you so much. Now we're about to get into something quite interesting. You know what we like to do? We like to make sure that you get a chance to tell us how you feel about certain things. For example, we have a new coach in the country. Do you know his name, where he's from, and what he's bringing to the table? What are your expectations? Let's have a look at some of these Vox Pops.
Good. I think Asanovic for me is a good coach, but with the management, if we can be better, we can be having better players on the pitch, then our winning possibilities are very high. Because we've got the big squads, we've got the names like Patson Daka, Enoch Mwepu, Fashion Zakala. These are good names for our striking force, which we can improve. They can do better. But
what people expect really is just really balance and development, really, because the old national team has just been in shambles this past couple of years, so we just want at least stability, balance, and at least a bit of consistency. We support him, and also at least we give him time to build as well.
Not iliyonza mkafuna udina like pamenilili apenzo bakonda maningi bazambia meyo kambotamba opeza tibaruza so apa ikakucha benzero mwe baikakucha benzero maningi.
Good quality of players muno Mzambia bali abroad bali ma local players till now, but ngati swaza mpasa chance which select eka ba player bakuti apange national team pazanga pali be change unless bampase chance yakuti select eka ba player apange team yamene izaitaniwa kuti national team not memoto vanity tamba hivi. Zambia can go qualify ku Africa Cup. Malawi na Comoros waende ku Africa Cup. Nishichone kabwanje. Malawi okay, ate ya bwino. Anashita deserve no pezeka kuti ku Africa Cup. But muno tito kango performa kuchira Comoros Island. Kukangiwa. So mtuza kuti tilipati. Mulibe team. So ngati wazampaza chance yopanga.
All right, so that is an interesting, opinion coming from you, the fans, and that's what's important. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to get. Up next is an interesting segment we like to call Where Were You Last Weekend? I think it gets me excited when I see people showing us what they were doing over the weekend with regards to their favorite sports discipline. So it doesn't matter where you were. You can be in the comfort of your home. Just show us a visual of you watching your favorite soccer game on the TV, or you could be in a stadium or at a squash game, tennis game, rugby game. We just want to feel what you're feeling. Share with us that experience. Obviously, the WhatsApp number to send your visuals to is 0954621150. Definitely throwing it on your screens. I have to give a shout out to Sandy and team for these videos. Have a look at what they were up to last weekend. Where were you last weekend? I like those videos. So you know what to do. The number to call is 0954621150. Send us those short WhatsApp videos. We can't wait to share with you the experience. We're going to take a short break. When we do get back, we have to get into the nitty-gritties of the stories. Your top stories, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is women in sports. Isn't this conversation long overdue? Why are we still discussing this? Also, with regards to the Zambia Zambian coaches? Our budget, is it limiting us from getting the best of the best, the creme de la creme of coaches? Those are our top stories, so stick around, don't go anywhere. We also have the Trivia Master in the building, ready to give you some prizes. Welcome back. You are watching Off the Bench, your favorite, most detailed off-the-glove sports show that keeps you up to date with not just football, but basketball, netball, handball, dodgeball, baseball, hockey, swimming, the Olympics, whatever sports fraternity you can think of, Off the Bench has you covered. Now, of course, it's that time where we get into the meat, and of course, I'm joined by the one and only Cassandra Unscripted. Oh my God, the Trivia Master. So many.
We're in the house. We have the prizes. The trivia is going to be fun today. We've heard a lot of complaints. You know, the townspeople have said that they are not happy with the intensity of the games. So we've watered it down because the council must serve its people. The rogues must not win.
All right, just to recap, this is what our conversation is about today. The top stories, we're talking about women and the equality factor, women in sport and the equality factor. Why is this still a conversation? Why is this still a conversation? That's the biggest question.
Right.
Also, our other top story today, obviously, is the issue of the budget allocated for coaches.
We have to talk about these issues, Thalu. We've been on this case for, ladies and gentlemen, we are fighting for the Zambian fans, the football fans out there who are tired of not qualifying for the AFCON. We need to make sure that we ask the questions that need to be asked, Madam Thalu, so that we can enjoy some good football. Patson Daka should have been at this AFCON scoring hat-tricks. I mean, there were no goals. Obviously, the top scorers were not playing in the tournament, so we need to go there. We need to discuss the coach situation.
We need to touch that. Now, I like that you've mentioned the Africa Cup of Nations. Let's talk about an overview first, because Africa Cup of Nations is center stage.
Right.
It is what everybody's talking about in Africa. It's the biggest African tournament. And it's a big deal. It means so much to a lot of people, and that's what we're talking about. So far, we have seen the big dogs being humbled. We have seen the underdog. In fact, we've seen those below the underdogs. I don't know if you catch my drift.
The underdogs of the underdogs, yes. The underdogs among underdogs.
Rising up like a phoenix from the flames. We have seen things that we never expected. And there's been a lot of scandals. We can't take that away from the Africa Cup of Nations. Right. Scandals, left, right, and center. Yo, where do we begin?
Where do we begin? At the beginning, Thalu, with the overview. AFCON's been really interesting. And we have to also be honest, AFCON has not been as entertaining on the field as it's been off the field.
Which is quite funny.
AFCON off the field is a telenovela series written for Netflix, I'm telling you. But on the field, it's just very interesting. I mean, we had Gianni Sikaz, we are still talking about that. We had Sangare, the Ivory Coast goalkeeper who fumbled the ball and conceded the lead. It was absolutely dramatic fashion. We've had so many things. So just giving it a quick overview. Shocking facts coming out of the Africa Cup of Nations. One of the biggest ones is Senegal, who, by the way, have qualified top of their group, conceded 0 goals, but only scored 1. They've played 3 games, Thalu. They had Sadio Mane in there. They had all these intense boys. They've scored 1 goal. And that 1 goal was a penalty scored by Sadio Mane in the first game that they played. No goals scored after that, no goals conceded. It's been 0-0-0-0, and they are top of their group. So it's definitely been a telling.
It's crazy.
It's definitely been telling for how much fun has been happening on the pitch. All right.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say. You said it. You said it right. With regards to this particular Africa Cup of Nations, it's been more outside the field, outside the game.
Right.
And that's what's surprising. There hasn't been the usual amount of goals. There hasn't been the usual crazy tactics.
Exactly.
You know, the killer goal everybody's talking about from, all across the globe. I don't even know if the scouting is being done at this particular Africa Cup because there's no one really bringing the A game.
The passion. Yeah.
But Sierra Leone
have
very
moved
interesting.
Very,
they have
very,
touched
very
my
amazing
heart.
stuff. Their story, and like I said,
their story is everything.
Football is being played well, but I think the stories outside the game, I think, encapsulate the richness of our continent, encapsulates the passion that we approach the game with, and it tells a lot about what we believe in and the things that we drive in. Because Sierra Leone, the story of Sierra Leone started with, first of all, I think they haven't played in major international tournament for I think like 20 plus years or something like that. So there's literally no funding. There's literally no funding for the football team. So they had to scrap whatever they came to. Unlike everyone who was flying in on chartered planes by their FAs, they had to arrive by boat.
By boat.
Which is where we have that very touching image that's been floating over social media of the wife of one of the footballers kissing his
feet. Let me hold you there.
And praying about that.
Just there. That image was amazing. But madam, you have brought us into problems.
Yeah?
I don't know if there are any women watching the show right now.
Believe in your man.
I don't know what you have.
It goes far, because as soon as she prayed for those feet, he scored the equalizing goal. And she was dancing on cars. Next thing we know, it was an absolutely amazing
it
state of affairs.
But Sierra Leone's story, you can't help but want to back them. It's not obviously the easiest of journeys, but their story alone just brings so much to the Africa Cup of Nations this time around. But also Malawi.
Malawi doing some very interesting things. No one expected much from Malawi. And Malawi was going in as, like we mentioned earlier, the underdog of the underdogs, because it's like, who is Malawi? And what business do they have? But they've held their own in what actually seemed to be quite a very intense group. They managed to hold their own. They proved, because this is the same group as Senegal. Everybody was expecting Senegal to steamroll everyone. I wish was Senegal.
Here's my problem with this particular Africa Cup of Nations, Cassandra. There's no drive. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say this. It is boring. People are using calculators to see
goals, guys.
The other day, people are using calculators to see if who qualifies. Since when do we have to calculate? Okay, this team, if they don't score, if they are below 4, or if they're below, that's when we'll have this team from this team from this group go forward.
Exactly.
Where? How? When was that ever?
It's been overall like that. But on the flip side, though, we actually have to give credit to some of the other teams, like Cameroon, the hosts, who everybody wrote off, including myself. I'm sorry. Yes, that was a little bit premature.
An oversight?
Oversight, a huge oversight. But they've been exemplary. I think they've scored the most goals, I think, in the tournament.
Yes, they actually have.
Very similar situation to Nigeria, who had everybody not allowed because of COVID and European teams, but all of a sudden they're one of the strongest, solidest teams at the game.
You know what? We're going to get into your off-the-bench spotlight, which is centered around the Africa Cup of Nations. We can't help ourselves, and specifically, well, let me not give out so much. But on the other side, we're still discussing an overview of the Africa Cup of Nations amongst other conversations. So it's going to be interesting. Have a look at this week's off the bench spotlight.
In tonight's Off the Bench Spotlight, the Africa Cup of Nations continues to take center stage. When it comes to the stars, we know their names all too well. Over the years, African football has produced greater talent and depth more than ever, but we cannot celebrate our current stars without appreciating the iconic names whose talents lit the torch that shines across Africa. Let's begin with the Host Nations Football Association president, the one and only Samuel Eto'o. In his prime, Eto'o was referred to by pundits as one of the best strikers in the world, and he is regarded as one of the greatest African players of all time, winning the African Player of the Year a record 4 times in 2003, 2004, 2005, and 2010. Now, we can't talk about Cameroonian players without making mention of veteran striker Roger Milla, perhaps the most iconic African player of all time. He helped Cameroon become the first African team to reach the World Cup quarterfinals at the grand old age of 38, netting 4 goals, and the best part, his dance around the corner flag celebration after scoring. The next player was capped 101 times for Ivory Coast, helping them to the 2015 AFCON title. Crowned African Footballer of the Year 4 times, I give you Yaya Toure, whose talents cannot be ignored. On the other side, a round of applause for JJ Okocha, named so good you got gotta say it twice. Okocha's sublime technical ability and flair was eye-catching, making him one of the most gifted players of his generation. The best part about him was how he made football fun with his outrageous tricks and daring talent. Bringing us to 1996 Olympics gold medalist Nkwankwo Kanu. Twice African Footballer of the Year, Kanu stood out for his unorthodox yet highly successful style of play. With a height of 1.97 meters and a slender frame, Kanu's elegance and notable on-pitch intelligence and technical ability made him the star we continue to celebrate. Meanwhile, Michael Essien remains unquestionably one of the greatest African players of all time and one of the best midfielders of this century. You could never say Chelsea without his face and name popping up. Named after the famous Brazilian football star Pelé, up next, ladies and gentlemen, is Abedi Ayew, one of the world's greatest players in the early 90s. But enough about strikers and midfielders. Let's talk about Essam El Hadary, who played in the 2018 World Cup for Egypt at the age of 45 after 4 AFCON titles. El Hadary was a 4-time AFCON winner with Egypt, more than any other player in the competition's history, as well as the tournament's oldest ever player. Now, a player who needs no introduction, Didier Drogba's achievements are unprecedented. Drogba won 17 trophies across his stints with Chelsea, including the 2012 Champions League title and twice winning the African Player of the Year award, and is even credited with helping end a civil war in his homeland. Other players include Kalusha Bwalya from Zambia, Adebayo, Benny McCarthy, El Hadji Diop, and the list goes on and on. But for now, we end with the one and only George Weah, nicknamed King George, who, having shifted to politics, is currently the president of Liberia. Named African Footballer of the Year 3 times, Weah's prominence in the 1990s led him to being recognized as the greatest African player of the 20th century and became the first and so far only African player to win the Ballon d'Or, to add to his European Footballer of the Year and FIFA World Player of the Year crowns for that year. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's Off the Bench Spotlight are your African football. Doesn't that make you feel some kind of way? Tonight's Spotlight means so much to football fans across the world. These people, they lit the torch that shines so bright, which is on Africa. And now the rest of the world just looks down and says, we want to pick the African player.
Right, right. And I mean, it's undoubtable the kind of impact that African players have made to football in general. I don't think you can have a conversation about football and not talk about the impact of African players, which is a very interesting theme, because people have thought that only now African players have been emerging. They've been emerging since back in the day. I mean,
a whole Ballon d'Or.
George Weah existed, by the way, in the same time as some of the great people that we call the greatest footballers of all time. You know, he's playing with the greatest footballers of all time, and he's got a Ballon d'Or. There's some people at that level. Yeah, there's some people at his level that can't say that in Europe. so we need to stop looking down on Africa. Europe needs to stop looking down on Africa, because I think we have the football. You know, I think without Africa, I don't think there's football.
I'm glad you say that, because with regards to that conversation, a lot of funny incidents are happening with regards to the Premier League.
Yes,
especially
our favorite,
that our big guns, our representatives in Africa are not there.
At
They're
the
busy.
small tournament. It's very funny to see. But we've seen so many cancellations, Thalu, and the explanation that they're filing in these cancellations is due to they're not able to fill the required amount of players on the pitch. So that's how they are wording it, right? They're wording it that they're not able to fill the right number of players on the pitch, and also blaming COVID. But the most recent one, which raised eyebrows on all social media platforms, was Arsenal's postponement of Tottenham Hotspurs. They were missing Thomas Partey, they were missing Aubameyang, they were missing their guys that hold the team together. They had one confirmed COVID case. The Premier League granted their postponement, but did not comment on the terms and the nature of the postponement. And I think it just shows you how much power African players and influence they have in the Premier League. Because from the way I see it, and Arsenal fans prove me wrong, where the phone lines are open, I'm not afraid.
The phone lines
Let's have this conversation. But I think Arsenal was afraid of playing Tottenham without their African giants, because they couldn't do it.
I'm not going to argue with you. And like Cassandra just said, phone lines are open. If you have another opinion, the number to call is 0961 415 028. This is something we haven't gotten into, away from how the European clubs are missing our African players. Hint, hint. Let's get into a scandalous situation,
right.
or in fact, not a scandalous situation, a history, record-breaking moment for women in sports. I'm talking about Salima, ladies and gentlemen, the first female to officiate an Africa Cup of Nations match.
Right.
Big move. I don't know what you feel about that.
I mean, it's absolutely massive because we are taking strides in Africa and actually starting to lead the pack when it comes to football and world-breaking records.
Well, we do have a caller on the line. Let's see if we can take that call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Fine, thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Liz. I'm calling you from Garden.
Your name again?
Liz, I'm calling you from Garden.
All right, please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm against the argument that we are depending on Thomas Partey and I think that a lot of young players are doing better than those players. So I think that argument should just come up with a different argument.
So now the question is, I like the comment.
So we played against Liverpool with the Thomas Partey, with the Obama, and we had the red card. Xhaka went off in the second of the match. And we drew against Liverpool. So we are better giving Thomas Partey and Obama. So I think that statement should just be phased out.
No, but you see, now here's the interesting set of circumstances.
Actually,
because statistically, now allow me to challenge you a bit, because the filing that came from Arsenal is they didn't have enough players, and the players they kept referring to were the guys that were away, because they could technically field 11 players on the pitch with one sub, but they were claiming that the requirement needed 13. They could have got players from their young side, but they didn't, and that's what the argument is. By the way, I'm sharing the sentiments that on social media, so I like what your comment is, but why then did you dodge the game is what I would ask. Why did we postpone the game then? If we can take on Liverpool, who also, by the way, are not the same, They don't have African players. Tottenham have all their full players.
Let's allow him to answer your question.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so that's the same one for which the case what motivated us to cancel the match, because we're not training last year. We're missing one player. But tonight you can watch us because we are going to beat Liverpool.
I can't wait for the game. Thank you so much for your contribution.
I like this guy. Very lively in the defense of Arsenal. I love it. It's absolutely magical.
We're not here to play games. Thank you so much. Once again, the number to call is 0961 415 028. Now back to the conversation around women and this particular special woman. Here's an extract of what we got when she was being interviewed. Well, they were attempting to interview her. And you just break down with her. Have a look at this.
Abanyarwanda bakurikiye BNB FM umwezi arababicishe kuri Twitter nanjye narabibonye kuri Facebook n'ahandi bati umukobwa wacu arabikoze umukobwa wacu arabikoze. Sadi kora mu ndiba y'umutima wawe ugira ikintu bwira abanyarwanda. Yego. Sorry, Sadi, hangane. Ihangane niko bigenda nyine iyo umuntu akoze amateka.
Ndashimira buri munyarwanda wese na buri muntu wese ambaye hafi. Murakoze.
All the way from Rwanda, this young woman is she's just amazing. And I think it opens doors for us as women in sports. And this is the conversation we're having. Should we be discussing same equal pay, equal opportunities, equal recognition now in 2022? Is that even a conversation to have? Should we be discussing gender, really?
It's a very interesting argument, and I think part of the politics around it is also the rebuttal of the other side, because if you check social media, the argument also is the men are feeling emasculated because there's been so much empowerment on the ladies' side. Men have been forgotten, but it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
All right, so we're about to take a quick break, but I need to remind you tonight's top stories. We're still talking women. Are we still having the conversation about the equality and the equality factor? Are we still having that conversation in 2022? Also making it to your top stories tonight, which we're about to get into with a special guest, Pancharello Chama, ladies and gentlemen. A man who's not too afraid to call a spade a spade. He does not hold back. We're discussing the budget. Is it limiting Zambia to get a proper Chipolo Polo coach? Stay tuned, don't go away. All right, welcome back. Now, of course, we are joined by Pancharello Chama, who is a football enthusiast, and we are discussing an important conversation, the business of football. Are we not having enough? Are we not making enough money? Is it our budget is so low that we can't get the coaches that we want? We cannot afford the coaches that we want. Is that the situation that we are experiencing in our lovely country of Zambia? Punch, welcome to Off the Bench.
Hey, Thalu.
I'm joined by Cassandra as well.
Hi, Punch.
Hey, everyone.
So the question is clear. We want to understand. Our budget for a coach in our country is $25,000, judging from the last coach that we had. And we can't get coaches like Hervrena, who's currently
getting a lot more than that. I think we heard 80 at his last job before last, and
now he's at $300,000. Well, basically, we have a very low budget. Do you think our low budget is limiting us from getting the kind of coaches that we feel might take us all the way to the top?
And do you think it's also a reflection of our true capacity? Is that our limit?
Wow, that question.
No, it's firstly, is that limiting our, is the amount of money, 25,000, limiting? It is. It's been roughly the same amount from 2000. I think it's government who gives $10,000, then the Football Association of Zambia have to top up for the other, cover up the other $15,000. So it's been the same from 2000, and we're in 2022. So imagine this. 22 years later, same amount of money being given to the coach. So, and then other countries have increased. Other countries, which were probably giving their coach $2,000, $3,000 US dollars, have reached our level now. So, is it that? And you know, and I recall at the last Africa Cup of Nations, there was a list which was done of the paid coaches. And if we had gone there, because we were not there at the last Africa, but we had gone there, our coaches would have been among the lowest paid. Maybe just above the likes of Burundi.
Can you imagine?
Just above the likes of a few other countries. However, we would have been among the lowest paid. So it is an issue. And then Cassandra asked the other question. He asked that...
does it reflect our current,
of our
capacity?
Everything is down to perception. So you bring things to reality as in terms of the football, as you'd like to see. As an example, you know, the Senegalese league, very poor paying. Or let me make it even the Cameroonian league. Very poor. Like the average pay of a player who plays in the Cameroonian league is like equivalent of like a 2,000 or 3,000 quarter. Even, I mean, that's not even the average. That's like above average. Like they're earning like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. The highest paid player gets 5,000, 6,000. While here in Zambia, you'd find that at some clubs, the lowest paid players are the ones who, even some clubs are not even paying the lowest paid players at 4,000, 5,000. They'll start with a 7,000, 8,000.
Interesting.
Or 2,000 at the very least. So what I'm trying to say is that now, when we're making a comparison with club football in Cameroon, which is very low paying, Zambian football by far better paying than Cameroonian clubs, and that's why Cameroonian players tend to come to Zambia and not Zambian players going to Cameroon. However, when we flip it in the national team, Cameroon can come and pay a coach. They can come and pay a coach $70,000 or $50,000 or $80,000. While for us, we struggle to pay a coach 25,000. Now, I would say which is which, the country whose league players are low paid, and national team national team coach is high paid, or the country whose national team player coach is relatively not as well paid as a lot of African countries.
I'm confused. I'm confused. I'm confused. I am so confused. Where is the motivation then? If our players are getting enough money, where is the motivation?
Why would they want to come and play for the national team?
How does that work out? Because if you're getting good money at your club, okay, you're motivated to keep bringing your A game. And it is from the clubs that we get these players that come to play for the national team. So, okay, fine. We are paying our players more than we can pay a proper coach. That means we're investing in our players in hope that even if a not so good average coach came in, our players are highly motivated to bring the A game. But that is still not working. So where is the issue? If it is not financial constraints, where is the issue?
It definitely isn't a financial issue. It's an attitude issue, and I'll recount a few stories that I've gone through in my work with Zambian football. There's one period of time in 2015 where I was at Lusaka Dynamos in that period. I only spent a year there, but there was one particular day where I recall whereby the owners of the club were pretty difficult because now they've started paying players salaries, and before Lusaka Dynamos players never got anything, like they'll walk from wherever, from as far as Chawama or to Lusaka girls for training. Then boom, money comes in. Getting 4,000, 5,000, some are even getting 8, 9, 10,000 quarter a month. But then, the funny thing is that performance now went south. It was very funny. It was very hard to explain. And I remember there's one day whereby one of the owners was very upset. Then he had, during a training session, he told the players that, no, look, you guys said money, you wanted to pay salaries, but why are you not performing? We're going to remove you guys and we're going to bring foreign players because we're spending a lot of money on this club.
And you're not delivering, exactly.
You're not delivering. And, I after that meeting, I called a friend of mine who, at the point in time, was working within the Football Association of Zambia. I said, hey, this is what these guys have said. I'm sure now the team will perform. And he was just like, but knowing what I know, the guys won't even perform. That you will see. And true to words, despite getting paid the money, at the end of the season, Lusaka Lions even got demoted.
Which is troubling, Punch.
Yeah, and it's only that a rule by the regulation by FAR saved the club because the regulation was that they had increased the number of teams. So because Lusaka Lions entered into that threshold of being above the team, which
they survived the cut.
They survived.
Now here's all right. Now here's what I'm passionate about, and this sort of gives the backdrop as to why I think for a lot of us football fans this is a big deal, because we seem to have a huge problem. So if we look at it like overall statistically, we've missed the AFCON for the last three attempts, and we're out of the World Cup. So the next time our boys get a chance to play internationally in a competitive setting is probably in the next 2, 3, 4 years from now. Because we haven't even completed the Qatar 2022 World Cup, which we are not going to be playing in. And for me, this brings a huge issue of concern, because now I'm thinking we've lost out on harvesting some of what I would say is one of our best crops when it comes to like a pool of players that have talent. And I'm thinking about what's going to happen to them, because you know how short time is in football. 3, 4 years from now, will they be the same players that they are? And if not, who holds the ball at the end of the day? Who's responsible for the bad attitudes or the lack of the payment, or who's supposed to fix this problem? Like, can we identify where exactly the issue sits? Whose job is it? Who's getting paid right now to make sure that this is no longer a problem?
Well, it's a difficult thing to say. I think it has to take the Football Association of Zambia to recognize that there's a problem. I would suspect that maybe they haven't really concentrated on. Maybe they think it's something that, it's one of those things that it doesn't really matter. But it does matter because
it does.
The attitude of players determines how far you go, and there just has to be some type of sensitization to talk to the players and just give them something to believe, because players, I feel, they become comfortable. I was speaking to a Malawian colleague, a Malawian friend of mine the other day, and he was saying, I was asking him that, look, why are you guys, just like, some of these players, the conditions of football in Malawi are pretty bad. Like, players are badly paid here. So for them, they are fighting for their livelihood. This is a chance to be recognized. This is a chance to be out there and move outside of the country, move to and provide for your family. I was asking, but because I wanted to understand relative. Then you were saying some of the players even struggle for the basics. You know what I mean? They struggle to pay rent. They're struggling.
So the players have motivation.
Yeah, so their players, their motivation is inward because they want to improve their livelihoods. Whereas in Zambia, you find that if you're playing for a lot of the Zambian clubs, particularly the top ones, you're getting it may not be European standard or South African standard, you're getting a decent salary, you can drive a second-hand vehicle, you can build you can buy a property and start building. And I know players who just played locally, but they've built 2 or 3 properties, and they reach that level up and they're comfortable, and all they do is they do enough so as not to get their contracts terminated, enough to really push the boundaries and really help. And that reflects in Zambia as well.
Right.
Because remember that most of the players who play for the national team are coming locally. So the only way...
What you've opened is just a whole different can of worms.
I'm writing down a bunch of questions.
and I want to say, it's not a good enough excuse that there's someone who needs to be paid to make sure these players' attitudes are correct. We're investing so much. Us as fans, we're putting in so much. We are attending every game to show support. The nation is rallying behind these players, and you're telling me that the reason we don't perform at our best is because of attitude, even with proper pay?
Look at examples of when we were eliminated from the AFCON and the World Cup qualifiers. How did our players
respond?
They were just
interesting. Very interesting point.
It didn't care. Now, if that already shows that there's a problem, because look at some of the teams which didn't qualify.
Sierra Leone.
Yeah, you see, it was.
Having said that, Punch, I'd like to believe there are certain coaches. I played football when I was younger.
Right.
I played football when I was younger, and we had a coach. In fact, not just football. I played basketball as well, and I had a coach that would hype us. I had a coach that would
get you motivated.
He will make us feel like you have no option.
To drive and motivate the team. Right.
You are going to win. Our headmistress would come and say, "Guys, I believe in you. When you get back, this is what you're gonna get." Look at the other teams at the same Africa Cup of Nations who are being promised thousands.
The president of Malawi was promising $1,000 for the players if they got the desired result.
My point brings me back to the initial topic: the coach. If there's a coach, why are we not motivating these players to play as they ought to? If not, kanshi become first a bobo kanshi.
But that's an interesting one. So it now brings us back to the conversation of the coach. And for me, this is one question. I know this is probably not in our prep, but this is the show where we take the gloves off, Punch. Because of this player attitude problem, and we now have a new coach, Mr. Asanovic from Croatia, do you think he will make a difference? Do we think his arrival is going to make any significant changes? Or should we just buckle our seats in and prepare ourselves for another 7 years of this? Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult to say in terms of. I haven't listened to him enough to gauge like where he's at in terms of his pace. I know that already you can see him trying to move away from the local players. Because during the conversation he was talking about the fact that they're looking at foreign-born players to represent the national team. So that shows that he's also seen within our sphere those who are Zambian born, not just local players, but even those who are who play outside of Zambia, but were born here. It seems that there may be some issue with some problem there for him to say that we're looking to call 4 or 5 players. Because if there was no problem, why would they want to call 4 or 5 players who were born in England? If essentially that they're going to scout for them. So they've just said, yeah, there's one good one we're going to pick, but actually going to scout, and it's really something which is unheard of in Zambia. We usually rely on talent, which is groomed
locally, easier to access.
With regards to the scouts, are we looking at bringing back players like Charlie Msonda, bringing back?
So their names being thrown around like Chanka, I think it's Chanka Zimba.
Yes, Chanka Zimba, yes.
Frank Msonda, then there's the other kid who's at, I think it's at Cardiff. I think
Mumba Mwape.
Oh yes.
But there's still no word on Charlie Msonda.
Okay.
There's too much. Zambians really would have it forgiven. Whenever you speak about Charlie Msonda, a lot of Zambians are not happy.
They get emotional.
Right.
But listen, let's bring it back to the initial conversation. I still want to focus on the coaches. And I'm going to play this really short clip. We had an interview with the FAS spokesperson, Cindy Mangala, and this is what he had to say about our local coaches. I don't know if you can allow me to play this. Only very short clip.
So you have to appreciate that when we open up invitations for people to apply for the coaching job, we are not looking for a foreign coach or a female coach or a male coach. What is on the table is just a qualified coach. So it's just people who meet that criteria. Whether you are local or you are whatever, that's not the issue. So we haven't really had coaches that have invested enough in the training. You know now most of them are on a CAF B, then maybe 1 or 2 on a CAF A. But there's even now CAF Pro. So if you're going to wait for someone to go and take you to school to go and do CAF Pro, because there's no guarantee that when you get that qualification, you're going to come back and
get a job.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were listening to that, Punch.
Yes, I was.
Which brings me to my next topic of conversation as we wind up on this particular segment. If you're talking about players not being motivated enough to bring the results that they are required to bring to the table, we have a situation of local coaches. Right now, our technical bench is full of foreigners. Our assistant coach is Caro, coming in from Slovakia, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's Slovenian. And we have the fitness coach, we have the goalkeeping, everyone is just not part of the team. And here's this message coming from the FAS spokesperson, Cindy Mangala, saying they don't aspire to improve their qualifications, and he's referring to local coaches. What do you think, or what's your take on that?
I think that he's saying the truth. There are a few, and when we talk about a few, probably less than 2% or maybe 5% if we want to be really gracious, who really try and push. And because you see there's a problem in our league. There's a problem. You find that the coaches in our league generally, and you see this problem being reflected. Like, no one needs to tell you. You can just make an observation. There's no way a coach has been coaching for 10 years and they've had the same assistant for 10 years. So this particular assistant they used to mate with this coach, a former player, and then they graduate, they become coaches, and then year 1, you're with this coach. Maybe just along the way he leaves, but then you always call for him back. Year 10. Then there's a problem because you can't have the same circle of people as time goes. If you make comparisons with European coaches like Jurgen Klopp, you find that the coaches he was with in Borussia Dortmund are not. Some of them are not the same as he is at Liverpool. Obviously, there could be issues of at times some coaches may fall out, but usually it's just that
progress.
You change directions, your interests change, and then the people you need to push you change.
But what's the excuse here? Is it money?
Why don't we have enough local people pushing coaches?
Motivation? Do they just feel like we can't do this? We are okay with the position we're at?
Because there's motivation. Because, sorry, just before you jump in, because Thalu, I was saying the same thing. Because currently, for international coaches, if we're talking about the best coaches in the world who don't have any other motivation but financial profit to coach our team, wouldn't it be more inspiring if I was a local coach aiming for that $10,000? Because for an expatriate coach, that might not be anything. But for a local coach to earn $10,000 a month, I think is quite substantial. Why wouldn't that be motivating enough for our local coaches? Where's the issue with the mentality local? Do we not rate coaching? Is that something maybe that's not publicized enough?
No, you see, it also comes. I think it's a bigger topic, but just to really squeeze it in, it has to. Again, it's just the mentality of the coaches is that as a coach, the first thing you have to, I remember years back, this was 2012, 2011, that I really wanted to get involved in football but didn't know how. So I used to write down these statistics. I didn't really know what I wanted, the space which I wanted to be in football. So I would go, try and seek out some coaches.
Right.
In fact, it was 2000. It started from 2009, 2010 up to 2011.
Right.
And then you'd find a situation whereby I go and talk to a coach and I show him these statistics, and then this coach is not willing to listen. He's just ignoring. And then you already see that attitude. The problem is because a lot of the coaches, the mentality is still that they've got a circle of people around them. So they'll be like, this guy, I played with him. This guy played with him. So we are the coaches. We understand Zambian football.
Right.
But that's a fallacy. Because you can't say you understand Zambian football when you cannot coach the national team. Already it's a problem because the national team is Zambian football.
Right.
So it shows that the majority of our local coaches do not understand Zambian football. When you can't bring in a youngster who's 18, 19 years old, who's got interest in coaching, this youngster comes to your training every day. If you can't give this youngster an opportunity to say that, youngster, come here.
And learn.
Do this and this.
Because you are on the ground, you understand the young players. You've got this connection with the young players, which I don't, because I last played football
in the 70s. Wow.
Here's a coach who wants to block off the people who've not played football, and they feel that. So it's from this huge, it's complex, but this I'm trying to explain as basic as possible.
I think we've caught on what we've caught the general gist, and unfortunately we have run out of time. You've left me with so many questions and a little angry.
Yes, because
a little irritated, a little frustrated because we put in so much, but
and we're losing talent. You see, Thalu, for me, it's the fact that we're losing talent. These boys don't get to play for Zambia for the next 4 years.
Maybe not today, but Punch, you are amazing as always. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Have a good evening, and once again, thank you.
All right.
Thalu, I want to say this.
Punch is just amazing.
It's absolutely amazing, and he makes some very powerful points. But I want to say this, and if there's Zambian fans watching out there, if there are coaches watching, we have a wide open hole. We have a huge hole that no one is plugging in, and you kind of want to be the one that... So if you're passionate about this, you have the qualifications. We need brave people who are passionate about Zambian football on behalf of the Zambian football fan base to push through this barrier and become an A-level coach. Get UEFA or FIFA Pro level. I don't know what the ranking systems are, but
level.
Go to UEFA level.
Listen. Linda, calm down. I'm very emotional about this particular conversation, and we're going to have it. Like we said, this year gloves are off. But first, let's take a quick break. On the other side, the Trivia Master gets to wear his cap. We get into tabloids.
Prizes.
We're still having a good show, so don't go away. Stick around. We have a lot of interesting prizes to give away. All right, welcome back. Now, the topic of conversation, one of the top stories is women, women, women. And this was, well, brought about with regards to our referee, the first woman to officiate an Africa Cup of Nations match. Salima, ladies and gentlemen, I still can't pronounce your name. How's her name?
Mukansanga or something like that.
Mukatusanga.
Mukansanga. I think it's Mukansanga. I could be wrong.
I took it to Bemba, but it's not. She's from Rwanda.
Yeah.
Now, the tabloids tonight, it's surprising what people on social media will get up to. Let's have a look at some of the posts coming in from social media with regards to this development. Salima Mukansanga is ready for this moment. We can show that we can referee a man's game at a tough level and succeed. I want other women to support me, other women referees and all women, basically. This is something
a shout out and a calling to all women basically to get, and it's a proud moment, to be fair. It's a huge achievement, not just for Africa, but on a global stage. A lot of people don't know that she's probably one of the first women to officiate a real, intense competition of male only.
Have a look at this particular
level,
one.
at least.
Cassandra, you can take it away.
Yeah, well, we have a comment from Silva, who says, his user is @CharlesForReal, and he says women should please stay officiating women's football.
Can you imagine?
Imagine that. That's a crazy comment out there.
Someone else posts, this is coming from, it's okay, I'll skip the names, but you can see, this is very wrong. Now, some far more qualified male referees have been denied this job just because the organizers want to please women and announce
Firstisms, yeah.
Firstisms. How many male referees officiate women's football? Effeminate men in places of authorities will always be a problem to men.
Interesting view. So
guys, we're celebrating the first time.
It's a hot topic. It's a very hot topic because I think there's too many things happening. But that being said, I think the balance is important. Like you're saying, it's a first time. At least let's acknowledge the step. It's such a big achievement.
No, Cassandra,
it's meant so much for the lady. We're doing the same thing for our teenage young guy, and it requires this. Another comment coming in says,
other comment.
This shouldn't be happening. This got nothing to do with women empowerment. She wasn't given that chance because she deserved it. That was to be given to a better and experienced referee, but because of the so-called gender equality. And another report coming in says, triggered by this, bro, why? Why are you so triggered by this? So it's definitely split social media right down the middle. There's a lot of arguments and animosity, and I think this circles down towards the opportunities that are being presented are made to seem like it is at the expense of the progression of men or against the running order. And it's a very interesting conversation. I've been seeing this conversation boiling up, and it would be interesting to hear what the people at home think.
Look at this comment. Women are human beings too. They deserve to be given a chance to shine and lead by example. Wonderful.
Right.
Another comment coming in. So for a woman to be called good, well, my director just took it out.
All right. So for a woman to be called good and successful,
she has to officiate a men's football match. That's like saying men's football is better than women's football. The irony.
Well,
now, why should this comment even be a topic of conversation? We're not comparing anything.
We're not comparing anything, although, to be fair,
it's her first time.
I mean, let the woman have it, to be fair. Let her have her time. It's a big moment. You have to look at it also from her individual perspective. She didn't wake up saying, I shall show the world that as a woman. She just said, look, I'm going to be the best me that I can be.
Exactly.
And she's made it to the top of her career. I think she deserves to enjoy at least something.
Cassandra.
This comment says, yeah, this is history as I see many comments against women to officiate in men's teams. It's history and it sounds very good because women also are capable and must be encouraged to take such great initiatives. Thank you, Salema. Thank you for being ready for the job. Very interesting. I'd like to see what the comments of those that are watching us have. We are on Facebook, so jot down your comments. Already we've got comments from, I did see some comments earlier. There was a man called Joseph Tembo. We're reading your comments. Man Salim.
His name is Bansalim as well.
Mangala. So we're seeing your comments, and it'll be good to hear what you guys think about and what we're discussing. So yeah, very interesting comments. And this other tweet on social media says, PGMOL refs take note. Right from the start, all AFCON referees have been firm but fair. They've let games flow. They haven't looked at VAR much, and there's been virtually no stoppage time in most of the matches. This is how Premier League games should be played. Interesting comment coming around that particular area. But here's the thing, Thalu. If we flip the script, when Gianni Sikazwe gets a chance to perform at the World Cup, and it's like, why are we allowing African referees to officiate international games, or if he goes to the officiate at the Euros? Why is an African referee officiating Euro games? You see sort of where this lies. There's too much siding and not enough understanding what sports is about.
Unnecessary.
And I think that's what causes a lot of it.
Especially with the thinking of, I mean, there's no team right now, no club team that just has one side. Everybody has a mixed breed of players coming from all sorts of places. But we are out of time for the tabloid segment. I think we've gotten a few comments here and there. Interesting conversation. But Trivia Master, shall we walk?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the giving away of the goodies. I will ask for the goodies to be on display so that the people can see we are very serious about the goodies, ladies.
In the meantime, let's look at this trivia question and see if you can get yourself ready to answer these questions.
It's going to be good this time.
It's your time to shine, Trivia Master.
It's my time to shine. Don't blink, ladies and gentlemen. We have the prizes right here on display in case you think we're playing games. We've already given out 2-3 cases, but we have more to give for free. All you have to do is answer. As simple as that. Answer the questions correctly. I am going to give... Thalu, please open the phone lines as we set up these questions. The people, for free, I'm trying to get rid of them. So today, we have a very interesting set of questions. Question 1 is, how many teams are in the Zambian Super League? This, you should know this off the tip of your fingers. Question 2, how many Super League titles does Zanaco have? Very interesting question. Question 3, who holds the Guinness World Record for the most goals scored? And there are options there. Question 4, who are the current league leaders in Zambian Super League? Question 5, which football star has the most followers on social media? Now, someone had argued, they said, no, what if I only get 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5? Guys, we've made the questions easier.
So the number to call is 0961 415 028. Please call us so that we give you these prizes. We're giving them out for free. And like Asanda said, maybe I can try and convince and negotiate on your behalf from the Trivia Master. Sir, can you please give leeway for them to even at least answer get 3 of the 5 questions correct?
Okay, depends. We'll see the commitment and the dedication, then maybe we'll consider. Yeah, but the prizes are definitely up for grabs, and I guess we can jump into it. So while we're probably discussing that, maybe you can give me, there was a comment that you were making about the ladies in sports.
Yes. So, we do have a caller.
For free.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Evening, madam.
How are you? What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from Kabwe. My name is Lombe Chilengwe.
Mr. Lombe, you're calling us from where?
Kabwe.
From Kabwe. Trivia Master, please take it away.
Mr. Lombe, question number 1. How many teams are in the Zambian Super League? Is it A, 12, B, 24, C, 18, or D, 20?
18.
Eh?
18?
So Mwasanka it? 18?
18 is it.
Muri sure? Okay. Question 2.
First
18
answer.
or 20?
Not send the first answer. 18 or
18. Okay. How many Super League titles does Zanaco have? A, 7, B, 5, C, 3, D, 1.
7.
Okay.
Question 3. Question 3. Who holds the Guinness World Record for the most goals scored in career of the 4 options that I've given you? But it's a Guinness World Record. He holds it. Is it A, Pele, B, Messi, C, Maradona, or D, Drogba?
Pele.
Pele, okay. Question 4.
Who are the current league leaders, Zambian Super League? Paso, top of the table. Is it A, Zesco United?
Red
Wait, we haven't even given you the options. B, Red Arrows. C, Buildcon. Nkwazi. D is Nkwazi. Reconsider Mdala Balombe. Okay. Number 5. Which football star has the most followers on social media? A, Samuel Eto'o. B, Sadio Mane. C, Patson Daka. D, Cristiano Ronaldo. Eto'o. All right. Ziko Mwalombe, we can't give you, unfortunately, we can't tell you whether you've got them correct or wrong now.
Not
because
yet.
We need your friends to call. But keep watching. We shall be announcing. Thank you very much.
Keep calling. The number to call is 09614150028. Trivia Master.
Yes, please. 5 questions today. We've made them easy, but we'll see. I like Mr. Lombe. You had the right kind of energy.
We have another caller. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where you're calling us from? Yes?
My name is Samuel Chilanga. I'm calling from Chilenge.
Samuel Chilanga calling from Chilenge. Very quickly. Yes. So, question 1. You're calling for trivia, I'm assuming. So, question 1. How many teams are in the Zambian Super League? Yam Zambia.
20.
20. Question 2. How many Super League titles does Zanaco have? A, 7, B, 5, C, 3, D, 1. 5.
Yes.
Okay.
5.
Question 3. Who holds the Guinness World Record for the most goals scored? A, Pele, B, Messi, C, Maradona, D, Drogba.
Messi.
Question 4. Who are the current league leaders in the Zambia Super League? Is it A, Zesco Uko? No one wants to wait for the options on this one. It can be Buildcon, Vamdala. Or Nkwazi. Those are options. Anyway, 5. Which football star has the most followers on social media? Is it A, Samuel Eto'o? B, Patson Daka?
Yes, Patson Daka.
That was super fast, Vamdala. We are very grateful. But Uncle Sam will let you know at the end of the trivia if you have won the prizes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
To the winner,
no, Trivia Master wants to give all the prizes away for those that are viewing. Lovely stuff. So
we
now
still have time for another call, actually.
Definitely.
096. Oh, we have another.
We have another caller. We need to give them all of them if possible.
Hello, your name and where you're calling us from?
Someone calling from Preston.
You need to mute your TV.
Okay, just a minute.
No problem. We are here, sir. We're waiting for you.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
So your name again?
Amon from Cheston.
Amon from Cheston. Mr. Amon, I'm hoping that you're going to have a fire run. We need to give away all the prizes. We have too many here. As you can see, the generous people at that Produce Commando want us to give you prizes. So question 1, sir. How many teams are in the Zambian Super League? Is it A, 12, B, 24, C, 18, D, 20? 18. Question 2. How many Super League titles does Zanaco have? Is it A, 7, B, 5, C, 3, D, 1? 5. All right. Question 3. Who holds the Guinness World Record for the most goals scored? Is it A, Pele, B, Messi, C, Maradona, D, Drogba? If you want E, we can put parts on duck.
Messi.
Messi. All right. Yes. Question 4. Who are the current league leaders in the Zambian Super League? Guys. Someone vote for Buildcon. Show some love to be anyway. Question 5. Which football star has the most followers on social media? Who?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
That was very fast. Thank you very much, Aaron from Charleston. We are very grateful for those answers.
Thank you so much. We'll announce who the winner is.
So stay tuned. Very soon. We're about to give
I do have to ask my director if we still have time for another phone call.
The director, please be nice to the people. Someone might be calling right this minute. And as the director is confirming with us, I am very impressed with the rate at which these have gone, particularly question 4. Question 4 seems to be a big favorite. Who are the league leaders? Yeah, so very interesting. All right, so answers time, ladies and gentlemen. The Trivia Master is about to put the answers right on the board so that you can find out who has won. Question 1. How many teams are in the Zambian Super League? If you said 20, you were wrong. If you said B, 24, you are wrong. The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 18.
C. So Amon and Lombe got that one right.
So Amon and Lombe got that one right.
All right.
Question 2. How many Super League titles does Zanaco have? A, 7, B, 5, C, 3, D, 1.
What is the answer?
A, it is 7. These guys have been champions for quite some time. They've got 7 titles. This information is available on the internet. I think only one person got that correct. Eh? Oh, no. Yeah.
Lombe got it correct.
Lombe got it correct. Yes. So Lombe is on fire currently.
Dun, dun, dun.
Question 3. Who holds the Guinness World Record for the most goals scored? Guinness World Record being the key phrase, ladies and gentlemen. There's no one who has scored more goals than the man Pele, especially on the list of options that we gave you. He holds the current world record on Guinness.
But guess who got it correct? Lombe.
Lombe is on a roll, 3 out of 3. Number 4, who are the current league leaders in the Zambian Super League? Did Lombe say anything other? Maybe Zesco United, what did Lombe say?
Everybody said Red Arrows.
Everybody said Red Arrows. No one even thought maybe it can be Zesco United. No one shows love anywhere, but it was definitely the right answer. And the last question, which football star has the most followers on social media? Samuel Eto'o, Sadio Mane, Patson Daka, or Cristiano Ronaldo? Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the legend, Cristiano Ronaldo has by far the most social media followers than any single player.
So can you get this? We have to say Amon managed to get 3 out of the 5 correct. Amon from Charleston. And Lombe got 4 out of 5 correct.
And Mr. Sam, unfortunately, you only got 1 out of the 5, but it was a very solid try. I'll tell you what, I'm feeling generous, Thalu. 4 out of 5 is a lot. Usually we have 4 questions. Today we added the 5th one. So 4 out of 5. I think he's earned his okay, fine. We shall give both of them the prize because we're feeling good. Good job. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Guys. We're going to get in touch with you and find out how you can get your prizes.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. All right. We are in the last bit of the show. We've had such a good time, but we can't leave you without talking predictions and log tables.
All right.
We're focusing mainly and entirely on the Africa Cup of Nations.
It's been a very interesting tournament so far. I mean, a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of mixed emotions. Definitely the underdogs by far stealing the show, showing up with brilliant performances. Your hosts, Algeria, are going home. I mean, sorry, your current reigning champs, not your hosts. Hosts are Cameroon. So Algeria has been sent packing. Very interesting. So I guess right about now we're ready to have a look at how the tables stand as it is, as we're waiting for AFCON themselves to sort of sort out the predictions and for the games to wind up and we can find out who's going to be making it to the round of 16.
Yeah.
So we have in Group A, very unpredicted, but then to be fair, it was a very interesting group. Proud of Cameroon. They managed to defend themselves, did really, really well. Fun fact, no one scored more goals than Cameroon in this particular tournament. Well, the closest was Nigeria, which we'll get to in a second, but no one scored more goals than Cameroon. So great showing for the host. They scored 7 goals. Of course, they considered quite a few. Moving on, Senegal. This is Zambia's group. So because of how the drama went down, we're constantly focused on how Zambia was part of this particular group. We would have been right there where Zimbabwe is, hopefully would have performed better, but this was a disappointing group because 1 goal for Senegal scored and they were top of that group, I kid you not. Most of the games in this particular group ended 0-0, so Senegal goes through together with Guinea, Malawi and Zimbabwe coming home despite a very positive performance from Malawi. Group C, we have Morocco thundering into the things. Morocco was a sleeper team for a lot of people. No one really expected Morocco to sort of show up, and they did a very, very, very intense and bang-up job at that. Played the games, won 2 games. They managed to score 5 goals in their run-up, and they basically steamrolled everybody else. Comoros made a late run and embarrassed the bottom of the table Ghana by defeating them in their last match. Ghana literally had 1 point from 1 draw.
Group D, ladies and gentlemen, the group of groups, the one that shows everybody who they are and what they've been over the past years. Nigeria at 9 points, leading almost every group. These guys came to play and win. That's
it was
they
fire.
came to play and win.
They didn't come with any excuses and they were denied so many players. Do you know this Nigeria team that's dominating is missing a lot of talisman who were stuck in Europe. And they were complaining. In fact, it was one of the top stories that we're discussing. They didn't even get their full repertoire of players.
Yeah,
Nigeria looking way too strong. Group E, we have Ivory Coast. Surprise, surprise. This is the group with the reigning champions. The team everybody pegged to be in contention with the dark horses. So Ivory Coast came through, did what they do, had a very strong performance. This table isn't updated. It's currently, right now as it stands, Algeria lost to Cote d'Ivoire 3-1. 3-1, and Sierra Leone unfortunately didn't make it as well. So Equatorial Guinea qualifies through. The table stays as it looks right there, and Group F is where the current games are being played.
I can see Mali right now has already scored the first goal of the match against Mauritania. Gambia and Tunisia, an interesting game as well.
Very interesting. Tunisia embarrassing us. No win, no draw, complete losses, no points on the board. Yeah, but these guys beat us in the qualifiers. Anyway, that is the recap.
So that's what's happening with regards to the Africa Cup of Nations. We have come to the end of Off the Bench. It's been an interesting night. I think we picked out a lot. Stay tuned for next week's episode. We have another interesting guest coming on. And of course, more interesting conversations. And the Trivia Master is giving away more of your Commando energy drinks, courtesy of Akanda. Interesting day. It's goodbye from us to you. Enjoy your night, watch some football, and please make sure you send us those videos on where were you last weekend. Say goodbye, Cassandra.
Bye. That was fun. Good high five.
Always, always, always.
I'm very disappointed with Algeria and Tunisia though.